Good evening, viewers, and welcome to the show. My name is Odhiambo Olale. I'm a journalist by profession, media consultant, and a biographer. Karibuni sana.
Amazing, guys. Welcome to Meet the HR. My name is Sylvia Wanja, and with us here we have Mr. Odhiambo. And by what you can tell, what you can hear, there is so much in store for us in this particular episode today. So make sure you tag along till the end to learn more, especially if you feel like media or matters to do with journalism is the part that is for you. Okay, so tag along with this conversation. So, Mr. Odhiambo, let's take it from the top. Why journalism?
Journalism, I decided to pick on journalism. I think it was in our blood because it goes all the way back. My mother was a journalist. She was a columnist in 1962.
Wow.
When she had a column in the Baraza newspaper. That was a sister newspaper of the Standard newspaper. So I think that is one area that kind of influenced me. Then we also had an uncle. Her brother also went into journalism and became managing editor of the Taifa Leo. It was called Bob Okoth.
Yes.
Yes, and I think also this storytelling has just also been just part of our family. Special documentation. That's why in my book, which we'll be talking about later on, I have 6 pages of photo gallery. The oldest photo was taken 1926. 1926 of my grandfather, my father's grandfather, meaning my great-grandfather, who was in the police force and he was promoted to be a sergeant. So the Wazungus of those days says, if you're promoted, you have given a letter and you go to the studio and take a photo.
Wow.
So we have that photo that in the next 4 years will be 100 years old. So in terms of documentation, even in terms of photography, because that is part of storytelling. So that's one of the oldest photos we have. And then we have another one of my mother.
Yes.
In a photo studio when she was about 6 months old or thereabout. My grandfather took her to the studio with my grandmother in 1938.
1938.
So we have also that photo.
Wow.
And then also the other area I think that really got me into journalism was when I was in high school. One of the in primary school, one of the parents of our school was the chief editor of the National Media Group, Mr. Boaz Omori. So he used to hitch a ride from him from Karen Primary in Karen to Langata, and he had a beautiful Volvo that he would really speed down. I said, "Wait a minute, when I grow up, I not only want to have I don't want to be a journalist, but I think I would also love to have a Volvo." And by coincidence, my dad later on also bought a Volvo.
Wow.
But the storytelling in the family has been natural. Yes.
Wow. And I read a bit of your book, and it talks about your 40-year journey in journalism. That's a very, very long time to be in a particular field, meaning you have interacted with it as it has evolved from over time to what it is right now. So take us through the journey of how you started, how you studied, how it was journalism a thing back in the day, and yes, take us through that process.
Wow, 40 years in the next how many minutes or seconds will not be easy to say, but I think I'll just give the highlights.
Yes.
First of all, the title of my book, The Odyssey, came from my travel blog that I had during the heights of COVID-19.
Yes.
I started a blog called Destination Safari log, not Safari, Safari log, because Safari has been used so much.
Yes, true.
I guess I don't know, the Chinese or other people have even tried to patent it.
Oh, wow.
So the height of the COVID, or rather the beginning, is when I said, wait a minute, I have all this institutional memory in my head. Why don't I just put pen to paper? And that's when the idea of starting a travel blog came. And I ended up writing stories in the blog of almost 50 destinations, international, Africa, Kenya, counties, and institutions. And it was from that content, because when I had such a big heavy content, that's why after about 2 years, when I decided that why don't I just write a book?
Yeah, about everything.
And most of those travel stories, some of them are historical, going back to the days of the first one was when I was just remembering our challenges as journalists to working, how I think it was 2005. I was given a special assignment to go to Marsabit to cover the plane crash where a former Minister for Foreign Affairs, Bonaya Godana, and a number of assistant ministers and MPs and a clergyman and civil servants died.
Yeah.
So when I was sitting there watching Tokyo Olympic Games, seeing those Wazungus and Wahindis enjoying the games, and not only that, but winning all those medals. Kenyans, we are into athletics, so you have to wait until tail end. I was getting bored. I enjoyed the different disciplines, but I said, well, what can I do? Meanwhile, so that's when I just jogged my memory, and I found I had a fantastic memory. I could remember from the very moment I was summoned by my news editor. By that time, she was called Catherine Gisheru, Nation Media, to go to Wilson Airport. We boarded the plane with award-winning photojournalist Joseph Madenge and two other colleagues, David Okwemba and some lady from NTV. So we flew there. So I wrote that story from beginning to the end. And I said, my goodness, God is so good. I can remember all that so vividly. So now that was almost like the beginning of the Olympic Games. So now every evening when I was sitting there and watching, now I would come up with something. So I even remembered that 2009, one of my last assignments at the Nation Media Group was covering the U.S. presidential election.
Wow.
In fact, it was 2008. So even that one I could document from beginning how I got my visa. I got the letter of offer from Ford Foundation to get a fellowship, 30 days fellowship, to go to the U.S. and cover the U.S. presidential election, where Barack Obama, whom I like to joke is my brother from another mother. And then I was standing against one Mccain, governor for Arizona. And what a coincidence, Arizona is close to my heart. It's almost like my second home.
Wow.
Because I spent 5 years there at the University of Arizona, where I studied journalism and economics. So having jogged my memory and been able to write that story about 30 days in the U.S., covering the U.S. presidential election, I said, why don't I try Germany? Because I've also been to Germany.
Yeah.
So I went there twice. So I went down and I managed to put pen to paper from beginning to end. And most of those articles were between 15 and 2,000 words. Because at that time I also had in mind to have each travel story have a beginning, a middle, and an end. In journalism and in storytelling, that's what readers look forward to. They want to know where you started, where you are, and where you're going. It doesn't matter how you go about it. So I have some international tour. I have that Germany tour, went twice, covering the 10th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. And then about a year or so again, I was invited by the Goethe Institute. Yeah. Goethe Institute, when we arrived in Germany and we were enjoying the good allowances and being taken on a tour of the place and being told about their culture. So one of the officials whispered to us that when you're in Nairobi, you call it Goethe Institute. But when you get here, we call it Go Easy. Because we know it's not easy to get you guys out of Kenya. So when you come here, relax. We just want you guys to come and know our country and all that. And so the second time was to cover the presidential election. There they call it the chancellor. The president is called a chancellor.
Oh, wow.
So we were there for that one was another almost 3 weeks. The first one was about 1 week. So it gave us a very good feel of being a foreign journalist and the issues that are there. Then from there, another international tour was to Amman, Jordan, in the Middle East. First time I ever went to the Middle East. It was a international media conference. And it was very nice to go and meet with fellow journalists from all over the world.
Yes.
Especially in a country like Jordan, in the Middle East, where we thought, when I got there, I was just going, but I was anxious that, hey, there's always this insecurity issue, terrorism. But when I arrived there, I thought I was in Switzerland.
Oh, wow.
So that was that, international. Then, other than that, as I told you, I'm an alumni of University of Arizona in Tucson. So that I also had a special piece on 5 years as a university student.
Yeah.
And the life that we went through there. It is not easy. Many people right now are struggling struggling and even dreaming of going to the U.S. And for us who've been there, even a friend of mine was shocked when he asked me, "Why don't you apply for the green card?" I told him, "Wait a minute, I mean, those things still exist?" This is a friend who I visited the time when I was coming to the U.S. presidential election.
Yeah.
He was in Albany, New York, which is actually the capital of New York State.
Yes.
Many people assume that New York, capital of New York, is New York. No, it's that. So he asked me, "Olale, why don't you? Have you ever thought of applying for a green card?" Adam, can you imagine? I've never. Why? Not that because I'm just contented to be a Kenyan and to be here, but I just love to, I just think there's a time for everything. My time for being there came and went.
Yes.
Now I'm here. Let me just do what I can do for our country and for myself, for my family.
Wow.
And that has been the case. And by coincidence, my eldest brother, Martin Olale, is the one who had been there before. He went in 1975.
Wow.
So when he graduated, he invited me and I joined him in 1980 to 85.
1980 to 85.
Yes, when I was in the U.S.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, so my next trip to the U.S. was now to cover the U.S. elections.
For 30
and
days.
And that went according to my prayers, my plan that I will go back to, if I'm to go back to the U.S., I'm not going to go back and do those jobs that I used to do. Yes, you know, when you're a student, you do all that, cleaning the buildings, cooking in the Italian restaurants, among other things.
Yeah.
So I said, no. Once I've come back here, not that I'm arrogant or anything, but I think let other people do it.
Yeah.
So right now, when people are applying to go to the U.S. For green card, I pray for them.
Yes.
Because it is going there as a student was challenging. Now going there as a professional is a different ballgame. But that's that thing. So other than the U.S., I've been to Canada. My daughter, who will introduce later on,
yes,
is an alumni of University of British Columbia in Vancouver.
Wow.
So when she graduated, we were there for the graduation we were there for almost a week. One of the best holidays we've ever had. And I put that in my travel blog.
Yes.
Because I believe that stories are there to be shared, not to be hidden. Just like the Bible tells us. The light, we should be the light. And the light is best when it's on top of the table, not under the table.
Exactly. You have to share it with the rest
and in
of
Africa,
the world.
I've been to Rwanda, Burundi, with the senior parliamentary staff.
Yes.
We were there for 1 week to do what was called benchmarking. But that time they're calling it RRI, Rapid Results Initiative. The idea was to go there and study how they had incorporated IT into their legislature. By that time, they were ahead of us. They had a Senate in addition to the Parliament.
Wow.
So we went and we studied that, and we came back, and our report was adopted by the Parliament. That's why now Parliament, now there's electronic voting. There's also IT, MPs are allowed to go with phones, iPads, and all that. Before it was paperful, for lack of a better word. Now it is paperless, and you can imagine all that.
Easier.
So that's Rwanda. Then South Sudan was also another very good opportunity. That was now under the, after working for the nation for 21 years, I joined an NGO called African Woman and Child Features Service, which one of the founders was by courtesy my wife, who is a journalist.
Oh, wow.